Welcome to our informational session to the two prospective students that we have joining us today. We are mostly faculty here, and that's great because I want to give an opportunity for prospective students to meet faculty, and then because we're so overwhelming, I'll let those of you who need to go. But it looks like it's a little after 6, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Lucy Mercier, and I'm the director of the MSW program. And I'm going to I'll pass it on, and then I'll have the faculty introduce and then pass to the next one. And then once we've done that, then I have a PowerPoint presentation that's fairly brief. And then an opportunity for you to ask me questions or ask us questions. So I'll start with Denise because she's in my upper left-hand corner here.
Hi, I'm Denise Dedman, and I teach mainly in the research classes, though pretty much across the curriculum in the MSW program. Melvin?
Hi, my name is Melvin McDowell. I'm assistant professor in the social work department. I teach in the master's program. Pretty much teach, I guess I would say I teach across the curriculum as well. Yeah.
Poor Melvin.
Teresa.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Teresa Barabee, primary MSW faculty. And while I feel like I also teach across the curriculum, I probably am a bit more on the practice side of things. I have a couple more classes that are practice oriented than others. And Haresh?
Hello and welcome for this orientation session, everybody. I'm Haresh, and I guess I teach research, practice, and policy. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming, everybody.
And then Bree, can you introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Brianna Reed. I recently just graduated this past May with my MSW. I got my BSW at Saginaw Valley as well too, and I'm also the field education assistant for the field office.
So thank you. And also behind the graduate programs emblem down there, we have Hannah Long with us. Hannah works in the Office of Graduate Programs or Graduate, whatever their official name is.
We've got a couple different names.
And later on, she will be able to answer questions about our application process, which is handled by the graduate office. We have an online application, and if you have questions about that, then she's available to help us kind of problem solve through that. So since we're so overwhelming, those of you faculty, thanks for signing on, and those of you who wish to can sign off and have an evening of grading, I'm sure, and spending time with your families. So we just have 2 students on today, and they're prospective students. I've already decided you're ours, but do you mind introducing yourselves, Jessica and Ken?
Yes. So I graduated back in 2017 from the bachelor's program, and unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I lost my job. So I was hoping to continue on with my job for at least 5 years or so to get some kind of experience in the field. Our plans never go as we hope, unfortunately. So I thought now would probably be a good time to go back to school. So I am for sure going to go back to school. I have lots of support with my family, encouraging me to go. And I feel like if I don't, I'm going to kick myself in the butt. So I'm for sure going to apply. Yep.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Jessica.
No problem.
Hi, I'm Ken Longmire. I got my bachelor's degree from Saginaw Valley in 2019. I was in a program with the TRA where I had to go to school year round. So once I got my bachelor's degree, I needed to take some time off, and now I'm ready to finish and get back into school.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to, Hannah, can you give me sharing control,
Yes.
or do I already have it?
You should be able to share.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, you should be able to see my PowerPoint now, can you? Yep, okay, perfect. So I'm going to kind of run through this PowerPoint that talks about the program admissions requirements, requirements of the curriculum and field and things like that. And at the end of that time, you'll have an opportunity, lots of opportunity to ask questions, and we'll kind of chat. I'll probably have Bree share a little bit about her experience as a student in the program. So if you just make a note of questions as I go through, then at the end we'll have lots of time to share that. Okay, so the MSW is the advanced degree in social work. As you probably know, having a Master of Social Work degree means that you can be licensed at the state level and for independent social work practice after a year fully licensed. Our program is focused on interprofessional education. So the College of Health and Human Services has as part of its mission to train professionals who work interprofessionally. So we work and have some activities with nursing, occupational therapy, health sciences, and kinesiology, because they're the 4 other departments in our program, in our college. We're, as I think all social work programs ought to be, we're focused on diversity and empowerment. Our program helps students learn about the relationship between research and practice. And we envisioned our program as being particularly geared towards student learning in high impact environments. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. We focus on helping students learn outside of the classroom, not just through field education, but through some other experiences that we require of all of our MSW students. The background for our program is we've had a BSW program at Saginaw Valley for a long time, as you well know. The background is that when we talked about starting a master's program, we surveyed some of the agencies in our region that we have had long-term relationships with who are having trouble finding MSW prepared social workers for their agencies. And what they told us is that they wanted to hire master's level social workers who could do direct practice. So do psychotherapy and case management, mental health and substance abuse services, but who also could provide agency management, program directors, agency directors, could lead and develop programs in their agencies. So our program is designed to help prepare MSWs to move quickly into leadership positions in the region. Now, not every one of our graduates has taken jobs in our region, but those who have are prepared to step up into those roles once they get their feet under them in their jobs. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of the focus of our curriculum. Every MSW program has a specialization. It's a requirement of our accreditation. Our specialization is Advanced Generalist. So it's a little bit odd, but it is, Generalist is our specialization. Advanced Generalist is actually the most common specialization across the country. And so what that means is that every one of our graduates is prepared to take the test for social work licensure at both the clinical and the macro level. So students are required in our program to do both direct practice or clinical practice and more macro practice. And most of our student graduates are taking the clinical exam, but some of them are choosing to do the Advanced Generalist exam instead, depending on the kind of work that they are doing after graduation. We do have elective courses in addition to the core or required courses in our curriculum. And those electives are offered in both clinical and macro practice. So some students choose to do exclusively clinical, some students do exclusively macro electives, and most of them do a combination of the two. So students in our program have to take 6 credits of electives. We generally offer those electives in 2-credit courses, so 3 2-credit courses are required of electives. We have 2 tracks in our program, the regular MSW and the advanced standing MSW. And as you can see on this slide, there's a difference in the number of credits for each of those 2 tracks. The regular MSW has more required credits, and because there are more credits, the advanced standing MSW has fewer credits and it's more accelerated. The advanced standing program is only open to students who have a BSW from an accredited program, accredited BSW program within the last 5 years. And those students must also have a 3.25 GPA for the most recent 60 credits of college study. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but there are 2 tracks in this program, and each track has 2 options in terms of how quickly you can move through them. The regular MSW, the fastest you can complete it is in 2 years, and then there's a slower option there for 3 years. In the advanced standing program, you could complete the program in 1 year or 12 months. And if you wanted to take it just a bit slower, you could do it in 2 years. I have included at the bottom of this slide the total cost for the 2 tracks. The regular MSW, whether you do the 2-year or 3-year program, is about $35,000, including tuition and fees, using 2019 tuition. The advanced standing cost, because it has fewer credits, is about $24,500, including tuition and fees for the program. Now, tuition goes up a little bit every year. So those are estimates. So just so you know that. Most financing your MSW, what you need to know is that most of our students finance tuition by getting student loans. Grants are not available for graduate education. So many of our students use Pell Grants in their undergraduate program, but you can't get a Pell Grant for graduate school. So they're using student loans. They fill out the FAFSA and they get student loans, and the student loans will pay for your tuition and fees, and have a little bit left over. Although most students also work part-time in our program. We have a few students who work full-time, and I feel bad for them, but people do what they have to do. And we can talk a little bit more about financing and funding if you like when we're done. So both tracks of our program have open applications now through November 28th. So if you're interested in applying to the program, you must apply between today and November 28th. And all of your supporting documents must be received by us by December 12th. So there are required references and a personal statement, written statement, transcripts if you need to send for transcripts. All of that stuff has to be here by December 12th. So we recommend that you apply early in case you have questions or problems, or you have trouble getting your references to turn those forms back into us. That gives us a little time to assist you in getting those documents turned in. We will make admissions decisions by the end of February at the latest. Classes for the regular MSW start in summer semester, which is July. Classes for the advanced standing cohort start in spring semester, which is May. We have handouts for you. We are going to ask you to, in the chat, give us your name and an email address, and we will send you documents that outline the course flow. So what for it shows for each semester what courses you will take during the fast and slow track of the program. So if you give us your email address, we will be happy to send you those documents, and we'll send them both the regular and the advanced standing program documents so that you can look at them. What you should know is that we're a cohort-based program. And so what that means is that when you get admitted, you're going to go through the program following the course flow that's outlined on these documents together with the members of your class. So if you're in a one-year advanced standing cohort, then you will take classes in a certain sequence, in a certain order, in a certain semester, and you don't really deviate from that. And so cohort-based means that you have to keep up, and we would have to talk to you before we moved you, for example, from a 1-year to a 2-year cohort, and so that you can make sure that you're not having to step out and then step back in to get classes when they come back up again. So a cohort means you make a commitment, you kind of go through the process with the whole group of students that you're with. There's a real benefit to that in that you develop relationships and have lots of support. We try to be very understanding of people's lives changing and having lots of things happening in their lives. So we're available to help students figure out if that isn't working for them, but you should know that that's the way the program is designed. The core classes meet on Friday, all day, every Friday. And what that means for you, and I guess for the faculty, is that we're in school all day Friday until you're done with the program or until I retire. And generally classes start at 8:30 in the morning. And very frequently we have class until 6 o'clock at night on Friday. Electives, because we don't have time on Friday to schedule electives, they're generally scheduled for Saturdays. Probably 85% of our electives are on Saturdays. Some electives are either completely online or they meet on a weekday evening, generally from 7 to 9 p.m. So you have to do 3 electives, which means that you're going to do Saturday and perhaps a weeknight. Field education, so social work degrees require field education. Field education is 16 hours a week for the number of hours that are required for your track of the program. Most of our field placement sites accept students during regular weekday business hours. So Monday through Friday for between 8 and 6 p.m., 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. We do have a few field placements that accept students for evening and weekend hours, but they are not numerous and they're not that we can't guarantee you evening and weekend field placement. I have added the final bullet point on this slide this year because I want people to know the workload in this program is substantial. Other master's programs and other disciplines are perhaps 30 credits, maybe. And if you remember back to that earlier slide, you might have almost twice as many credits to finish our program. And students will tell us that there's a lot to do in our program. We try really hard. We faculty all talk to each other about when assignments are due and how much work is too much. But you need to know the workload is substantial. On the other hand, we do have students who are in field, working half-time, have kids, take full-time classes, and are being very successful. So it's doable. It's just people need to know it's a pretty big commitment while you're in the program. Field education in our accreditors like to call field our signature pedagogy. And what that means is that social workers think that agency-based field education is the most important part of the degree. The regular MSW program completes a total of 960 hours of field education over 4 semesters. So if you were in the 2-year option of the regular MSW program, you would be in field placement fall and winter of the first year and fall and winter of the second year. 2 placements, so 1 for the first year, 1 for the second year. Each placement is 240 hours per semester, so a total of 480 hours per year, 16 hours a week. The advanced standing MSW does a total of 600 hours. We count 360 hours from your BSW placement toward the final. So you only have to do 600. And that for the advanced standing students is 1 agency placement over 3 semesters, summer, fall, and winter. Because summer semester is shorter, it's half the number of hours, 120 hours in the summer, and then 240 hours in the fall and 240 hours in the winter. Our field office arranges placements that we have a job fair model for advanced students in which students and agencies meet each other, agree to interview, and students then get to select the placement with the agency's approval that they will use for that, for their placement. Our regular MSW first year students have a slightly different process where the field office interviews the student individually and then makes a match for an interview rather than having the job fair style model. And that's because we don't have as many agencies who want first year students. So we want to help direct those students to those agencies in a more efficient way. And so we can talk about field as well. We have field placements all over the state, from, I like to say, from Canada to Ohio, and from the thumb all the way over to the west side. So we have placements everywhere. And students generally are placed in their communities where they live and would like to work after graduation so that they have kind of a leg up in getting to know the practice communities where they think they'll get jobs. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about immersion. So before the pandemic, we envisioned this program as being sort of this active, engaged kind of experience for students where they got out of the classroom with the faculty and learned on the go. So we have, as part of our required curriculum, some immersion activities that all students go through. Field education is one of them, but all MSW programs have field. But we've added to that 2 3-day immersion activities. One that we call the Chicago trip is a course that if the pandemic goes away, will involve traveling to Chicago with your cohort and the faculty leaders to spend 3 days learning about the birthplace of social work ethics, cultural competence, and getting to know each other. And that generally happens the first week of the first semester of classes. And it's a whole lot of fun. Because of the pandemic, we had to do this virtually this past spring and summer. And actually it was great, but it wasn't the same as being able to go to Chicago and visit the nightclubs and eat pizza and kind of see Hull House and all of that stuff. And so depending on how things go, either we'll do the trip or we'll do a virtual version of the trip. We also require a 3-day immersion on agency leadership that we have called the Detroit trip. We had been taking students in a cohort down to Detroit to stay and visit agencies and learn about innovation in social service practice with very stressed communities. And we did that in a virtual format this year as well. Again, it's not as much fun, but it is pretty immersive, and it's a 3-day, all-day course. And then you're, pretty much, and then you're done. We also have every student in our program complete an integrative project that is evaluation research with an agency, and it's a real project, the real agency with a real need for evaluation. Faculty mentors work with small groups of about 8 students to complete that evaluation project over 2 semesters. And that involves working directly with an agency to learn how to do that sort of evaluation work. And that is a series of our research courses that are carried out in that way. We also work with the College of Health and Human Services on interprofessional simulations. Probably the highlight of which is the Mega Sim. I don't know if any of you were students in the program when we started doing Mega Sims, but these are giant events where our social work students partner with students from the other disciplines in our college to learn how to work in a team on addressing health or mental health or social service needs for clients or patients. So we do all of those sorts of things. Okay, so let me talk about admissions criteria. This information is also on the documents that will be sent to you. So the admissions criteria for the regular MSW, we've been joined by a couple of people. And so I don't know who's applying to which program. I'm going to go through both of them. It's good for you to know the difference between the admissions requirements. The regular MSW requires that the applicant have graduated with a bachelor's degree in any discipline from an accredited college or university. This might seem obvious, but you actually have to have finished and graduated with your bachelor's degree before you can start the graduate program. So we do have some students who graduate the last week of April and start the first week of May in the graduate program. But as long as they've graduated in the end of winter semester, they can start in the spring, or graduated, before they start the graduate program. Regular MSW applicants can also be Bachelor of Social Work degree graduates. And generally those are people who have a BSW that's more than 5 years old, or people who don't meet the GPA requirement for the advanced standing MSW. So we have a fair number of BSWs in our regular MSW program. It's not just BSWs go one place and everybody else goes the other place. In the regular MSW, we prefer a GPA of 3.0 or higher in the most recent 60 credits. We calculate that for you. So if we have your transcripts, we'll go back 60 credits and calculate your GPA. Your GPA in this respect is not the same thing as the GPA, overall GPA that's printed on your transcripts. We go back and calculate the most recent 60. If you don't have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, you may submit a petition asking to be considered for admission in spite of that GPA. And most students say, it's lower than that because I was having health issues or whatever, difficulty in my life. And then we will still consider your application, even if you have a GPA that's lower. You have to complete the online application, which is pretty simple. We're also going to need official copies of your undergraduate and graduate transcripts. So if you're an SVSU grad and you've never been anywhere else, we already have your transcripts, okay? If you went to a community college, transferred your community college courses with a transcript to SVSU, took classes at SVSU and graduated, we already have your transcripts because you already gave us the transcript from Delta or whatever. If you graduated from SVSU and then went on to take classes somewhere else and you never gave us those transcripts from the other place, then we need you to request a transcript be sent to SVSU so we can evaluate it. Sometimes people come to our program after taking graduate courses somewhere else, and we need those transcripts if those courses were taken somewhere besides SVSU. There's a personal reflection statement, a written statement that we evaluate for your writing, mechanics and correctness and that sort of thing. And also there are 2 questions, and we want to know what you think about those questions and how you answer them. So we're evaluating content as well. So that must be turned in, and I will show you the application in just a second and where you can see those questions. We need 3 references for professional references from people who you've taken courses from, your supervisor, or somebody who knows about your work, or an employer. So we're not looking for personal references. We don't want to hear from your Sunday school teacher or your family friend, but we do want references that can talk to your, because they can speak about your commitment to social work, your interpersonal skills, your work ethic, your academic skills, and so on. If you're an international student whose native language is not English, you have to submit your English language competency scores as well. Okay, so that's the admissions criteria for the regular program. The admission criteria for the advanced standing program is almost the same, but not quite. So the advanced standing program only accepts applications from students who graduated with the BSW in the past 5 years, and that BSW must have been accredited by the Council on Social Work Education. In the advanced standing program, you have to have a GPA of 3.25 or higher in the last 60 credits. There are no exceptions. You can't petition the GPA in the advanced standing program. Okay, you still have to complete an application form, get us your transcripts, write a personal statement, and then we also need 3 references. If you're applying to the advanced standing program, at least one of those references has to be from your undergraduate field experience. So undergraduate field education. Your agency-based field instructor or someone that you worked with in that setting. Okay, and then if you're a non-native English speaker, then you have to submit your English fluency scores as well. Almost done. Our program is fully accredited. Oops, there's a typo. Hold on. I just noticed we're fully accredited with the Council on Social Work Education. And what that means is that graduates from our program can get licensed at the state level for social work practice. Here is a link for how to apply. And I'm just gonna click on that for a second so you can see what it takes you to. So if you go to the SVSU website and type in MSW in the search bar, you can get to that way as well. It's svsu.edu/socialworkmsw/ and that'll get you to it, okay? You're going to need a username and password, which you will use only for this application. So you're going to make up a username and password to sign in. Write that down somewhere so you can get back into the application. You're going to need the professional reflection, which is your written statement in response to 2 questions that we're asking all the applicants. I would ask you to please put your name only on the cover page of that personal statement file. So make a cover page, put your name on it. We have to take identifiers off your personal statement before they're evaluated. And if you put it on every page, it's a pain. So we would just like you to put it on the first page. You're going to need a resume. So we want to see what you've been doing, kinds of activities you're involved in, what your work experience is. One of the things we rate is sort of preparation and other kinds of non-academic things. So if you've been really involved in volunteerism, or as an undergraduate, you were involved in some leadership activity on campus, we want to know about that. We you know, we want to know the whole you. So we look for a resume as well. Transcripts, you're going to need names and email addresses for your references. And we don't want you to upload a reference letter. We're going to get that information from you. And then when you complete that part of it, it goes out to your potential references as an email. But you need to not just put people's names, you need to call or email them and say, I'm using you as a reference. Please look for a request that will come to you by email and make sure that they complete it. I always say you should ask them ahead of time if they're willing to give you a positive reference, and then let them know when you think that they'll be receiving it so that they can respond. Probably the number one reason we have incomplete applications is because references don't respond. So the earlier you apply, if something happens, we can go in and add another reference for you. Okay. Okay, so let me just show you what this takes us to. Hold on. Hopefully it will open up. So if you go to this link that I've given you, then there are some details about our MSW application, the requirements, the instructions, dates and deadlines, and any kind, and then like help if you're having trouble. So one of the things that's in here is professional statement and critical response. There's a link in here that actually takes you to the 2 questions that you need to respond to. And so if you applied to SVSU's undergraduate program and you remember having to write a personal statement with the timer going off, did you guys do that? So if that's the case, this is not timed. You get the questions, you write your statement, you make sure it's perfect, and then you upload it into our application system. So it's not timed. You can see the questions ahead of time. There are all kinds of other things in there that you should read before you actually start the application. Okay? So I'm going to go back to my last slide, which gives information about how to contact me. And you can text me on my cell or email me, and also Hannah in the graduate office, and there are her contact information as well. So I went through that pretty quickly, but I hope that you have some questions and we can talk about a few things. And who would like to go first? Shayna, unmute so I can.
Hi. So I graduated from SVSU in 2013, and I was wondering if there were classes that I would have to retake.
No, but because that was more than 5 years ago, you have to apply for the MSW, for the regular MSW program.
Yep, I did see that, and that was the biggest question that I had.
Yeah. No, the regular MSW program is the year of that is the review of the BSW stuff that was from 5 years ago. So
Okay, that makes sense and helps out. Thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Anybody else? Who else has got a question or just wants to talk about stuff? Want to hear about details or?
Lucy, this is Teresa.
Hey, Teresa.
Hello. I was wondering the program of study. I know I've looked at U of M and they say they do some micro, macro. Is this the mixture of those type of classes, or is there a focus on one or the other?
Yep. So our specialization, I think you might have logged in just a little past when I talked about this.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
Our specialization is advanced generalist. So every student in our program takes both micro and macro. So if you looked at, I'm most familiar with MSU's clinical concentration because I taught there for many years. If you compare our practice curriculum to theirs, it would be about 2/3 of the clinical coursework from a typical MSW program. And because there are 6 credits of electives, students who elect to take clinical electives would have just about the same number of clinical or the same amount of clinical practice experience, but you're also required to do the more macro stuff. So we only offer one specialization, and it's advanced generalist, which is every student having to take both clinical and macro coursework. I hope that answered your question. I think
You
if
did, thank you.
totally not interested in learning about agency leadership, management, that sort of thing, that they might be a little bit frustrated, although we have most of the students in our program express satisfaction with the blend. So that, so I haven't heard people complain about it, but it is, at least for this area, it's somewhat unusual. Other states in the country have more advanced generalist MSWs than Michigan does, which is interesting. So Grand Valley, for example, is an advanced generalist focus program. Interesting that we chose that too. Okay, did I answer your question, Teresa?
You did, thank you.
Okay. Who else has questions?
I do. So I have a question. What types of electives are available? Like what types of classes or electives do you guys have to offer?
I have the world's worst memory. Teresa, are you still there? Or did you go?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you pull that out of your head?
Yeah.
Electives that we have.
There is, so one of the things that we try to balance is electives that are more clinical or micro focused, and then electives that are more macro focused. And we have different things like advanced practice with couples and families, advanced practice with children, case management, substance abuse. And then there is electives that are, I would say, more on the macro end, or maybe talk about issues of policy or more, I don't know, systemic
community.
Yeah, community. And I would say, some of those examples are, well, wasn't there like an international social work? Did that happen?
We did not offer it. So we have a very popular elective called Dear White People. That's about racism.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I've heard of that one.
I think next year, Mark is going to teach an elective on sexuality and social work, which is a combination of clinical practice and policy. Talk about gender. And then I'm trying to think of what else. Melvin teaches a trauma-focused social work course, and that really is about individual interaction and intervention, but also about community-based work around trauma.
Oh, and then there's been the pharmacology class. And then also I've seen the cognitive-based interventions class. So there's definitely a collection.
Brianna, what did you take when you did electives?
I took the advanced practice with children with Teresa, not Dear White People. I took the community organizing with, and then there was the advanced DSM and film.
Oh, good. Okay.
So that goes over, you watch movies in that class that discuss different types of diagnosis, and you write papers and you do assessments, biopsychosocials, to get that practice.
I'm familiar with those.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting class, especially a popular movies that you've seen before.
Hmm.
There is also photo voice class by Mark that is going to offer.
Say it again, Harish. Which class?
Photo voice that Mark is going to offer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, I don't know how many of you know Mark Giesler, but he's offering a voice called, a course called Photo Voice, which is kind of community-based research technique with oppressed populations. It's an activities class, and so he's working with groups of students to learn about how to engage with and really get information from people who are marginalized. So again, that's kind of a combination of clinical and macro work.
Mhm.
I think we have really interesting electives, much more interesting than what I took when I was in an MSW program. So,
Were you guys still just like designing a private practice course? Kind of.
so I'm trying to give Melvin a chance to get his feet under him, but we have plans to design and offer a course on entrepreneurship in social work. So how to be a private practitioner, how to think about finance and employment law and bookkeeping and marketing and all of those kinds of things as well. That'll be great, but
Mhm.
yet. Thank you. That was a great question, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It helps me, kind of figure out what classes are interesting. They all sound really interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
In the past, again, pre-pandemic, I took students to Nepal on a study abroad, and we studied disaster response and community organization after the earthquake. Visited and lived with, it was a 2-week trip that we took. That was super fun. And in the past, we've also taken students to the American Southwest and studied social work services in Native American and Latino communities. I really like to get away. You could tell I'm the one driving the whole let's get out of the classroom thing. But we haven't done that obviously this year because of the COVID thing. So.
Imagine you don't know if that will be able to continue like in 21. You're probably not sure about that yet.
Well, the news didn't look good today. We elected to go completely online this year. So we are completely online for spring and summer, and we are in the fall. And that's been a good thing because most of the students in our program are in field placement and they are regularly exposed to potential COVID infection. And so they might, we haven't had very many people sick, but they're often in quarantine because of potential exposure. And so they wouldn't be able to come to class. And that was one of the things that we really worried about. So we'd elected to go completely Zoom. And actually, I think it's going really well. We have some asynchronous, this is a new thing in education. So we have some stuff that's online, but mostly we're just meeting on Zoom, like a regular classroom with breakout rooms and live lectures and discussions and activities and all kinds of things. Although all of us are kind of sick of sitting in our little home offices, it's been going really well. We were even able to do virtual trips, which saves the students a lot of money and still get through that curriculum pretty well. It went just fine. The answer to your question is I have no idea. We are playing it by ear at this point. We are submitting a schedule, which is for face-to-face courses at this point for next year. But that may change depending on how things are going in terms of in terms of the infection rate and all that stuff. We do have some courses that are hybrid, which means partly online and partly face-to-face. And primarily the reason we do that is because there are not enough hours on Friday for everybody to meet face-to-face every week. So for example, some students might have 2 classes in the fall semester that are scheduled on Friday at exactly the same time. They just meet every other week. So this class meets the first, third, fifth, seventh, and the other class meets the second, fourth, sixth, eighth. So that, and on the weeks that they aren't meeting face-to-face, they have some online content to complete. So we have some courses that are hybrid like that. There's always a face-to-face component for those courses, or this semester, a Zoom to Zoom component where the faculty and students are actually meeting in real life or in real time to do activities and simulations and that sort of thing. So I wish I could tell you, Teresa, but I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I like to get out of the classroom too and go on trips. So
Yeah, I'm anxious for that to happen again. It's been difficult. But as soon as we're, as soon as it's safe, we will be out and about. We, in addition to the stuff I talked about, we also do an urban immersion generally every year. I'm sorry, rural immersion. We take a cohort of students to look at what practice in the north of here in some of those smaller communities, or we went out to the Chippewa reservation a couple of times and talked about working with those populations as a way to kind of give students a breadth of experience about how agencies operate in different contexts. And that always involves going out to eat somewhere together and talking with faculty about what you learned, and it's pretty engaging, I think. So
awesome.
What else? Who's got a question? While they're thinking, Bree, would you mind sharing just a little bit about your own experience in the program and what that was like for you?
Yeah. So I graduated with my BSW in 2019 at SVSU, and then I graduated with my MSW this past May when the COVID was starting to become the COVID. So I spent a couple of months online as an MSW student. It was a little crazy at times, but it was, I learned a lot. I actually recently just got a job in my field that I really wanted to really go into. And based on everything that I learned in this program, it really has helped me to become a more professional and competent social worker. When I first was in the BSW program, I didn't want to get my MSW. I thought it was a waste of time. I thought I could just graduate with my BSW and go to work. And my friend wanted me and my other friend to get our MSWs together. So we all actually applied at the same time, and we all got in. So we all went in. Two of us got went into the MSW program. Even though I thought it was kind of a waste of time to go and apply and things like that, it was the best decision I've ever made, especially being at SVSU with professors that I knew and I loved dearly, that I made connections with that were supportive and understanding. When Lucy was talking about this program being immersive, it really is immersive. Once I graduated in May, the next week we went to Chicago, and I thought I was gonna get a break, but like Lucy said, the work is substantial. There is a lot of work. You really have to be organized in this program. You have to be ready to get your head in the game, ready to get ready to learn and things like that. When I say this program is very immersive, you actually make connections not only with clients, but you also make connections with the students in your class. It's very cohort based. You're in class with the same people every Friday, or if you have electives, you might see the same people every Saturdays or if there's a class on Thursdays, you might see them on Thursdays. You cry together, you hang out together, you go out together, you eat together. It's a very amazing program to be in, especially with people that you might not know. You'll be able to get to know them by the end of the year. You know who their kids are, you know who picks them up, who they're married to, who their partners are. You really build a connection with those students and with the faculty in the program. Like Lucy said, we all have lives. We're all very understanding about what we're all going through, especially with COVID going on. So we know that it's very rough right now. So with this program, you really are not alone. You're all taking it day by day to understand what's going on. With homework, you're like, my friends are texting me right now, the people that I graduate with, because you really are not alone, especially after you graduate. Those people are still going to be with you to the day that you retire. I hope so, because I call those one of my greatest friends. The immersion part of it is very helpful with you to become a very professional social worker. It helps you get out of the community instead of being in front of a professor and they're talking on a PowerPoint and you're just sitting there and listening. It helps you learn. It helps you get your hands a little dirty within the profession. I was able to work with an agency in Flint that where they have different agencies in the Southeast region. Couple agencies in Flint that really needed help. And we were able to do logic models. We were able to do different steps for them to better their organization. You work with 8, sometimes 9 people in this group where you might not know what's going on, but somebody in your group knows what's going on, and you're able to understand why this type of stuff is important after graduating. I didn't say that I took the Advanced Generalist 1-year program. So I got a break between August and September for 2 weeks. And then the winter break I got for like a month. So you don't get a break, but but you're able to get a little break in to keep your mind refreshed, to keep going and keep those gears moving a little bit more too. I wrote down a couple tips too. So you're not alone. Like I said, you have a staff, you have the small class load. The immersive style really does prepare you for the real world. It gets you out of the classroom. It gets you talking with people within the community. A lot of social workers, they say that, or a lot of faculty actually say that the people that you meet in your community are your biggest connections. And that's the big truth about all of this. With the immersion trips, or with the immersion, when talking to different community members and things like that, it really gets you to understand what types of resources are in your community, gets you to meet new people. The organization that I worked with as a MSW student was the NS Center, and I didn't know anything about the NS Center, but it's one of the biggest resources that I keep in mind to if I need to talk to somebody or I need to get more information or things like that. And then one of the biggest things I say is do the program that works best for you. Like I said, or like Lucy said, we all have lives. We all have kids, we have families, we have partners, we have jobs. Even though I call myself a rare breed because I did 2 part-time jobs, sometimes 3. While doing this program, I had field placement, and then I was doing classwork as well too. If you have a full-time job, if you have kids, if you have families, look at the different programs and see which level works best for you. if you do need help, maybe talk to Lucy and see what your options are. But big thing is don't stress yourself out too much. You can only spread yourself so thin. So just pick a program that works best for you, and talk to Lucy if you need more options about that. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Bree.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, who's got other questions or comments about anything? Are there other things you would like to know? Somebody, oh, Hannah, code, application fee waiver code?
Yes, I have everyone's email ready, and I'll send that out right after this with
Right.
that in there.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions? So, Ken, are you?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Bree, I know the master's program is more intensive and more work, but is it similar to the program that we had our senior year? In terms of the scheduling and how we did things?
Somewhat. So instead of having classes like on Tuesdays, you have classes on Fridays. It gives you more a leeway to do stuff at the beginning of the week than to have your class in the middle of the week. In the BSW, your hours were 15 hours. At the MSW, your hours are 16. So you just have an extra hour a week to complete for field education. I think it's because it's so immersive is when you get busy. So you have to plan meetings with your groups. You have to take time off of work to go on these trips, maybe whether they're online or whether you go to Detroit or Chicago, depending on what's going on. So I guess it just depends on your workload, because I know with everything online, sometimes a lot of people, a lot of the times, because everything's online, sometimes organization gets a little wanky. But it is kind of similar in preparedness, but it's just more of time management is where it gets difficult.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think, at least in my opinion, Ken, there are some similarities. So we use the cohort teaching model that's used in the BSW program at SVSU. And for those of you who weren't exposed to that, we often have more than one faculty in the room at the same time as a large group of students, and then break off into smaller groups to work on skills or whatever. So that cohort teaching model is used in the final year of the MSW program. So if you're a one-year student, it's the whole year. If you're a 2 or 3 year student, it's in the final year of the program. And so that's a similarity. The fact that we kind of move classes all to one day, and you spend a lot of time with your group the whole time is a similarity. Field instruction might feel or look structured the same. I do think it's more. So there's more expectation in graduate work for completing assignments more independently. There's less structure. So we say, write a reflection on this, and there's not going to be like a lot of prompts for it. You have to kind of think and integrate and produce with less structure. And that's partly because we're training you to be an independent practitioner. So we want you to be able to kind of think independently and more creatively. I mean, it's kind of fun, but it is less, it's not so cut and dry. It's more higher level thinking. Student projects are often sort of do them on your own and then tell me what you come up with. So Bree's right, there's a lot of small group work and meetings outside of class, right? And so I think that is time consuming and it feels like a lot of work. And it is, it's grad school. So I think it's a little harder. Yeah. Students who are really successful at it are the ones like Bree who were super engaged. They had a support system. She had color-coded schedules and things like that. The students that I see that struggle the most are the ones who thought they could do this in their spare time. So they have an all-consuming job, or they have, you know, lots and lots of family responsibilities. And they didn't say, oh, I'm going to have to do this really, really hard thing for a year. And sometimes we have to sit down with those people and help them figure out how they're going to readjust in order to get through the program. I am absolutely committed that when we admit somebody to the program, that they are going to graduate, come hell or high water. And so we do what we have to do to get them through the program. And that might mean adjusting their length of time with us, or helping provide some additional resources or whatever. But yeah, I mean, some students struggle more than others because they have lots of responsibilities. So. Kylie, and I assume that's how we say your name. I haven't heard anything from you. Do you have any questions? I saw from your email that you're from Central.
Yes, I am. So I actually do have a question. I know you guys don't have a school certification yet, right? Okay. So how would I go about getting that if I was in your program?
Okay, so all MSW grads are eligible to apply for the school social work certification. School social work certification requires you to take content that's dictated by the Department of Education, the Michigan Department of Education. And what I tell people, because this is the easiest and kind of closest thing to do, is to take the Michigan State University online school certification courses.
Okay.
And they're expensive, but they're online.
Right.
And if you did it while you were in our program, then you could use those courses transfer them in and use them for your elective credits.
Okay.
Because we're not approved yet by the Michigan Department of Education to offer those school courses.
Right.
Once you're done with that and you have your MSW, then you apply through the state. It's an additional certificate besides the social work license. Mm-hmm. Highly desirable to be a school social worker.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is there anything else, Kylie, as we talk about SVSU, like everybody goes there? Do you have any questions about anything?
No, I don't think so. I actually have a friend who was in the BSW program, so I actually know quite a bit about it.
Okay, wonderful. We're cooler than that, though. We're cooler than the BSWs.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Okay, Hannah, do you have anything to say to us?
I will send out that email right now. But we do have a step-by-step for the application where just as a troubleshoot for where some people get stuck. Highly recommend watching that if you go to apply. And it goes through about regular and advanced standing when they start. So that way we have all the correct information, and that way we don't have to ask you again down the road. And it shows, where everything else, like that, all the additional supplemental documents can be uploaded as well.
Is that video on? Oh, it's right there at the bottom of the screen. How to apply. Okay. It's on that website that I linked you guys to that has all that
yeah.
About the application. There's a video. Hannah is available, or I am. You can email me and I'll forward it to Hannah if you have trouble. I don't get to see the apps until they're completed. So if you're having trouble filling out the application, then Hannah or someone in the graduate office would have to help you. But you can email either of us and we will make sure that you get what you need to get that application filled out.
Yeah, and you can always call or text me. Even like on Friday, there was a student that like after hours had questions, and they're quick and easy. That way you don't have to worry about, I know sending an email can be, figuring out like what all to say to sound professional, and you can just send me a quick text like, what's the website? So text me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Help me, please.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know last week when the application opened up, I was having a hard time even submitting the application because I think the website was down. I tried like submitting the application 4 or 5 times, and I tried a couple different days last week too. So I haven't gotten a chance to log on since I was up north spending time with my family. So I wasn't sure if the website's working now or if it's still down.
We are back on the go. Like, we're back.
Brianna's smiling because I was messaging her already last week. I was like, what's going on? I'm trying to apply.
I'm looking right now to see what we've got from you. Okay, you started an application. You're able to log back into your self-service center and
Yes. Yep. I can log back in. I still have my email, or not my email, my username and password. So I can log back in. I just couldn't submit that whole application.
okay, you should be good now to submit it, as well as entering that waiver code.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Ironically, the first day the apps were open, the site wasn't working. Yay.
I figured so, because last Monday I was like, I don't have anything going on, so I'm going to apply. I'm going to try to get it all started and be on top of it instead of being a procrastinator. I couldn't because the site was down. And I tried again like a day or so later. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to procrastinate. I'm not.
I know it knew that we were up to no good, so
that's okay. Things happen. Sometimes technology doesn't work like we want it to, so we kind of just have to go with the flow.
Yeah. So let us know if something comes up again, but I think it assures us that everything is good so far.
Good.
Okay. If there are no more questions, I think we can sign off. So
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This was very helpful.
Last
Thanks.
chance. Anybody have anything? Okay. Thanks, Ken.